At 45 years old, Martell Holt now finds himself in the kind of trouble that many thought he would somehow manage to escape. For years, his name has been tied to drama, scandal, and controversy. But this time, things are very different. His failed appeal in the domestic violence case has not only closed doors for him, but it has also opened a path that could bring serious consequences to his future. The courts have spoken, and the ruling against him has been made official. This isn't about gossip anymore, it's about accountability in front of the law. Martell thought he had one last chance to clear his name, but instead, he walked straight into a legal wall that has left him with nowhere to go. Martell once enjoyed the spotlight of reality television, business projects, and the image of a man who had it all. He appeared polished and ambitious. To fans of the show Love and Marriage, Huntsville, he was one of the central figures whose personal life often carried the storylines. But while the show gave him fame and opportunities, his personal choices slowly started to tear away at the image he built. The biggest crack in his public image came when allegations of domestic violence began to surface. At first, some thought it was just rumor. Others believed he could fight the accusations and protect his reputation. But as the court cases developed, it became clear that this was more serious than a tabloid headline. The trial that followed was tense and filled with evidence that painted Martell in a light that many were not ready to see. Witnesses gave testimony, evidence was presented, and the court ruled against him. That ruling left Martell with a heavy blow to his image and his future. But instead of accepting the outcome, Martell and his legal team decided to appeal the decision. They hoped that the appeal would overturn the judgment, or at least open the door for doubt. To his supporters, this was the moment they believed Martell could bounce back. To his critics, it was another attempt to avoid responsibility. What makes this story so important is the fact that appeals don't work the way many people think. An appeal is not a second trial. It isn't about telling the same story again in a new courtroom. Appeals are about checking whether the first trial was fair, whether the law was followed properly, and whether any mistakes were made that could have changed the outcome. This means Martell's lawyers had to prove that the first court mishandled the case in a serious way. Without that, the appeal had no chance. As the appeals court reviewed Martell's case, the truth became clearer. The evidence that was presented in the first trial was strong and consistent. Witnesses told stories that matched with physical evidence. The judges noted that their testimonies were credible. This made it almost impossible for Martell to argue that the first trial was unfair. His legal team tried to point out flaws, but the appeals court didn't see them as real errors. Instead, they ruled that the trial judge had handled the case carefully and fairly. Another problem for Martell was his own behavior. In the eyes of the court, a defendant's actions matter. Judges notice how a person carries themselves both in the courtroom and outside of it. During the entire process, Martell often came across as defensive and dismissive. Instead of showing remorse or responsibility, he appeared combative. His comments to the public didn't help either. He acted like someone who was trying to protect his image more than someone seeking justice. Judges are human too, and when they see this kind of behavior, it weakens the case even more. There was also the matter of new evidence, or the lack of it. Appeals can sometimes succeed if new, powerful evidence is brought to light. Something that was missed in the first trial or something that changes the way the case is seen. But in Martell's case, no new evidence was presented. His legal team went back to old arguments, just with different words. The judges made it clear that repeating old claims does not meet the standard for overturning a case. Without new evidence, Martell's appeal stood on weak ground. The appeals court also reminded everyone of the high standard in domestic violence cases. These kinds of cases are treated with great seriousness because the justice system prioritizes the protection of victims. To overturn a ruling in such a case, the mistakes would have to be massive and undeniable. That bar was far too high for Martell's side to reach. The combination of strong witness testimony, credible evidence, and no significant trial errors left the appeals court with only one choice. They denied his appeal. When the decision was released, the language in the written ruling was sharp and clear. The judges described Martell's arguments as unsupported by the record. In simple terms, they were saying that his legal team didn't have the facts to back up their claims. The ruling also made note of his lack of accountability. It pointed out that Martell had not shown true remorse or responsibility. This, combined with his public behavior, only confirmed what the judges saw in the trial. For Martell, this ruling is not just a legal defeat. It is a major turning point. His life will not be the same moving forward. This isn't about rumors anymore. The court has spoken, and the case is now locked into legal history. That ruling will follow him everywhere, on Google searches, in business negotiations, and in every future news headline. The failed appeal didn't just confirm the original ruling, it cemented it. Public reaction to the failed appeal came fast. On social media, critics celebrated the decision as accountability finally being served. Many felt Martell had used fame and charm for too long to avoid consequences. They saw the ruling as proof that the truth cannot be hidden forever. Some posted comments saying things like, "You can't charm your way out of the truth." And, "The court saw right through him." For critics, the failed appeal was long overdue, but Martell also has supporters who continue to stand by him. Some believe he has been treated unfairly, pointing to the pressures of fame and the bias they see in the justice system. On Instagram, many of his fans encouraged him to stay strong, with comments like, "This isn't the end," and, "The system is always against successful black men." This shows how divided public opinion has become. To some, Martell is guilty and finally being held accountable. To others, he is a man crushed by a biased system. Mainstream media quickly picked up the story, with headlines framing it as a downfall for the reality star. Blogs and gossip sites highlighted his lack of accountability, while traditional outlets focused on the seriousness of domestic violence cases. In the reality TV world, the reaction was especially strong. Cast members, former co-stars, and bloggers weighed in. Some argued that his behavior on the show matched the ruling in real life, while others urged caution, reminding people of the way editing can shape a person's image. Still, most voices leaned toward agreement with the court's decision. Beyond gossip, the failed appeal also sparked broader conversations. Domestic violence advocacy groups used the moment to stress how important it is to take survivors' voices seriously. They highlighted that fame should not shield anyone from accountability. For them, Martell's failed appeal was not just about him, but about showing that even celebrities cannot escape the consequences of abuse. The fallout for Martell now stretches into every part of his life. His career in reality TV is on shaky ground. While drama often brings ratings, networks and producers know that keeping someone tied to domestic violence rulings can be risky. His storylines may be reduced, or he may be pushed out entirely. Networks are aware that viewers and sponsors don't want to support someone linked to such serious accusations. His business ventures are also at risk. Martell has been involved in construction, wine brands, and other projects. But investors and partners watch reputations closely. They don't want to be tied to a name surrounded by scandal. Even loyal customers may hesitate to support his products now. The financial strain is another problem. Legal battles are expensive, and an appeal is no small cost. With the appeal failing, Martell is left with heavy legal bills and no victory to balance them. Combined with possible business losses, his finances could take a serious hit. The most painful fallout, however, may be for his family. His children have already been caught in the public eye because of his reality TV career. Now they will see their father's name tied to this case for years. Custody battles and co-parenting struggles may also be influenced by the ruling, making things even harder for the family. In the long term, Martell's brand has taken damage that is almost impossible to repair. This ruling is permanent. It is no longer about allegations, it is a court decision. Every future opportunity, from TV appearances to business deals, will carry this shadow. For Martell, rebuilding his image will be extremely difficult. Culturally, his case is also being used as an example. For critics, he is proof that no amount of fame can protect someone from justice. For defenders, he is a symbol of how the system can be unforgiving. Either way, he has become part of a larger conversation that goes beyond his personal story. The failed appeal shows that Martell Holt's future is uncertain. His career, finances, reputation, and family are all affected. At 45, instead of enjoying success from years of fame, he is now dealing with the consequences of choices that have caught up to him. The court has closed the door on his appeal, and the weight of that decision will follow him for the rest of his life.